What is going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadski, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. We just got the data download for the upcoming Sugo Fest, so I guess we can briefly have a look at it, but there's not really much else to talk about, to be quite honest. I was expecting there to be some new rare recruits in here, but no, they're just going to be debuting the new Dragon Ivankov Kuma character on the banner as, along with Ginny, and there's no other additional rare recruits. Meaning that the restricted pool of revolutionary armies are essentially unchanged. So that's very disappointing. So we made a video earlier today talking about Dragon a bit more extensively and how I do think that while the character abilities are good, I just think that the lack of usable units for the Rev Army tag, or well, the accessibility of the characters in the Rev Army tag is just going to be way too difficult to build actually good teams with this character. I think this character might be good in the future, but as for right now, I don't know. I just don't think this character is going to be all that. I will say in Pirate Rumble, this character seems very interesting, but we'll see, because, there's a lot of good teams in Rumble right now, so I don't know if this is going to be like the make or break for a meta-defining team. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. No real crazy information here yet. Tomorrow, news time, we'll get the official in-game information in regards to the Sugo Fest, the step-ups exactly, and also in regards to what characters are going to be available on each part. So you can see just briefly on the artwork of the banner here that on part 1 of the banner, you've got Robin and Chopper, you've got the S-Snake, and you have Vegapunk on the left-hand side of that banner. So this is going to be going live on the 20th. The next one on the 21st, the day after, is where Ginny is going to be here. From what we can see here, it looks like potentially Ginny might not even be pullable on part 1, but she will be pullable on part 2, and then Dragon is not pullable on part 2. It looks like that's going to be the case, which is really weird. One thing to note, though, is that on part 2, you do see here that Dex Roger is going to be boosted on this part of the Sugo Fest, which is exciting. So there are going to be anniversary exclusives that are pullable on this banner. We don't know what is going to be available where, but Dex Roger is arguably the best, if not, it's one of the best, if not the best, anniversary exclusive characters, so the fact that he is here is great. No anniversary characters are shown here, though. All the legends that are shown here, being S-Snake, Vegapunk, and Robin and Chopper, those are all Kizuna legends, so we'll have to wait and see what they have planned. But the other thing that we obviously needed to talk about in this video is the Super Evolution for Sabo and Koala. So of course, with the introduction of Dragon, Ivankov, and Kuma, and Ginny, and we know that we want more characters for the Rev Army tag. Is this character going to be a unit that is going to help the Rev Army tag become a lot stronger? We're going to go ahead and discuss that here. I have had a brief look at their abilities, and what I must admit to you guys, unfortunately, this looks to be one of the more disappointing 6+. I mean, shout out to Bandai for doing everything in their power to make Super Evolutions the most underwhelming, bland thing in this game. The fact that we only usually get 1, maybe 2 if we're lucky, Super Evos a month, and they come out at this quality, is honestly, I wouldn't say it's disturbing, but it's just really disappointing, man. The fact that we have these old units with massive investment, and they just get nothing. They just get absolutely nothing. Let's go ahead and break down what this character looks like. By the way, artwork looks phenomenal. I mean, while the character abilities might not be what we were hoping for, I love the artwork of this character, in all honesty. It looks really, really cool. So here we have Sabo and Koala. So this character is Free Spirit and Cerebral, Sabo is Strength, Koala is Int. Those are all unchanged. Let's actually break down all of these abilities here. So we have Sabo with his Captain effect, reducing cooldown by 1 turn at the start of the fight, which is a new addition to his Captain effect. And I guess I should also admit, this is level limit broke, like fully maxed out Sabo and Koala. So if you don't have the investments, the Captain that you see here will be not as good, okay? So you get the -1 turn of cooldown, 4.75 times attack to both Free Spirit and Cerebral. You get the 1.2 recovery and tandem beneficial, and the 15% damage reduction. This type of Captain ability just feels like a Captain effect from like 3+ years ago. I don't like this. It just doesn't do anything. It just doesn't do anything. If you go over to Koala, pretty much the same thing. You get a lower base attack boost going to 4.5. You still get the damage reduction, but the attack boost can scale higher if you consecutively hit your perfects, which is, I believe, the same as what Koala did beforehand. So, again, nothing really too crazy here. In their dual form, it's, again, essentially the same thing, just with higher damage numbers. Going up to 5.75, starting off at a 5 times boost. It's the same thing. So, Captain ability-wise, extremely underwhelming, doesn't really do anything. let's move on to the switch, I guess, first. Let's go have a look at this crewmate ability, type slots matching. I don't know what the secondary one is. Hopefully it's nothing too crazy, but either way. Switch effect. The switch effect here is slightly different. So it gives a 1.5 color affinity boost to Free Spirit and Cerebral, which it did beforehand. It then changes their own slot into matching, which it also did, but now it also changes adjacent slots into recovery. That is a brand new addition to this character, as well as the utility is slightly different. So now it removes their own special bind, paralysis, and despair. Beforehand, it never removed special bind on this character's kit. So the removal of special bind is the new addition, and the recovery change for your adjacent characters is also the new addition. So that's pretty interesting. Now, all of that in mind, this character does have a super switch effect, which requires you to switch 8 times in order to activate the super switch, which already is absolutely ridiculous. Of course, if you run double of Dragon, doesn't Dragon give you 2 turns of cooldown for the versus effect? I'm pretty sure he does. So, I mean, that makes it a bit more relevant, I suppose, but having to switch 8 times in normal content with the SABO and Koala is just utterly ridiculous. They did the same thing with Vivi and Rebecca as well. They made the super switch like absurdly high. I just don't like it when they do it. Dual units are already so frustrating to use, and then adding a super switch that takes so long to charge just makes it so much worse. Anyways, the super switch effect, you get the 2.5 times color affinity boost instead, and it's for 2 turns, so it's much more substantial color affinity. And then all of the orb change is the same, but it now allows you to go through block slots, so guaranteed matching slot, and then guaranteed adjacent slots into recovery, as well as the same utility of removal of their own special bind, paralysis, and despair. So it seems like pretty good. Like, I actually think that the switch effect is pretty good, and I do think that the super switch is actually a really good effect. The only issue is it's 8 switches. It's going to take you a long time to actually secure that. So with all of that in mind, let's actually talk about the character's special ability. So again, this is level limit break 5, the best possible special that you can get. So here we have the special, where it says it will extend the duration of your color affinity boost by 1 turn. Remember, if we have a look at their switch effect, that in the super switch you get 2 turns of this color affinity boost, ultimately meaning that if you activate the switch and then the special, you'll extend that to become a 3-turn color affinity boost, which seems pretty decent, okay? It will then go ahead and remove your special bind duration by 6 turns, which of course with their switch effect, you can remove their own special bind completely, so that makes perfect sense. It also changes your empty, block, bomb, G, and type slots into matching, and then will give your Free Spirit and Cerebral characters a 2.75 times attack boost for 3 turns that is allowed to be buffed up to 2 separate times. It will then also remove any matching or unfavorable slot effects placed on your crew, and then becomes SABO and Koala for 3 turns. So this effect right here, where it removes, even though the typo there, I see that, even though, you know, this effect here, removing any matching or unfavorable slot effects placed on the crew, this is the reason why this character was as good as this character was when it came out. The fact of the matter where you could, you know, if the enemy gets you an effect where for X amount of turns, like type slots are counted as badly matching, this character removes it. This is like one of the only actual good characters that would actually remove that ability. So it's pretty cool, but the fact is there's not really, that effect isn't very common anymore, and there just are other efficient ways to get around it rather than just have a special that removes the debuff. While there are characters that can remove it, like Oiran Yamato, Shirahoshi Mancherry, it's a lot better to just abuse like Rainbow slots, Semla slots, Wano slots, whatever it may be, right? They also fuse for 3 turns into their dual form. It then further states that if you have 3 or more Rev Army characters on the crew, it will further increase your attack buffs by 0.3, including the buff from this special, ultimately meaning that it would be a 3.05 times attack boost for 3 turns. And then will also further increase all enemies' increased damage taken buff by plus 0.3. So again, great synergy with Dragon, Ivankov, and Kuma, as that character has the ability to inflict increased damage taken to the opponent, and then this can go ahead and buff that effect. We know that Morley and Karasu, which came out earlier on in the year, that character has an effect where if you use that special of Morley and Karasu, any effect that gives you basically any generic buff, including inflicting increased damage taken on the opponent, can also be buffed. So if you activate like that of Morley and Karasu, you activate your Dragon, then you activate this, you can get a lot of really strong buffs going on. But at the end of the day, is that team combo of like Dragon, Morley, Karasu, and SABO Koala, is that even going to be an efficient team? I mean, like, let's be real here. It's not really going to be that wild. I think this is just a pretty okay ability. And it's just the fact that there's no crazy, like, OP utility going on. The only real utility that they got is the special bind removal, which I will admit is a nice addition, I guess. But the fact that this character received this buff, received level limit breaks, and the only real utility that they got was the removal of special bind just seems absurd to me. So, I don't know, I just feel like that this character is missing some abilities. There's not a lot going on here. So essentially, this character is kind of relegated to being a special bind remover. It also has the ability to give you an attack boost for 3 turns, and color affinity boost for 3 turns. And also has some pretty decent orb change. But it's like, it's not like that's super uncommon. Like, those types of abilities, you can find them on a lot of units, but I don't know. I don't know if this is just me, but I feel like this is a pretty underwhelming super evolution, and I just was expecting a lot more from SABO and Koala. So yeah, bit of an unfortunate one for this unit, because I just don't think this character is going to see a ton of play moving forward. Unless, of course, you have Dragon, Ivankov, and Kuma, and you want to use that character in content, you probably want to run Rev Army units, and this is just a unit that you can put on your team, okay? So nothing really too wild. In terms of the Rumble stuff, this character did receive some pretty substantial buffs, but with all that in mind, I just don't think it's going to see that much play in Rumble either. Let's have a look here. So again, this is with the level limit break buffs. Free Spirit and Cerebral getting 7 attack, 7 speed, and 7 HP, and level 5 crit. And then your Rev Army teammates also receiving a level 4 attack buff. So the Rumble ability seems pretty good on paper. The special ability here does a large frontal damage 2.3, and then also defense down level 5, and then a medium range frontal for 3.5 times damage. I guess with investments, if you get it to 150, this damage could be pretty decent, I guess. But at the same time, we have the New Year's SABO, which has a lot of really unique gimmicks going on with him. And I feel like if I'm going to run a SABO in my, you know, revolutionary army focused, you know, Rumble team, I'm probably going to use New Year's SABO over this, but then again, there's not really many Rev Army PvP characters that do a lot of damage. They've got a lot of support going on, but they don't have a lot of huge damage dealing characters, and I guess this could potentially fulfill that role on your team. In terms of everything else, they evade paralysis, which is probably the worst resistance that they could have, and then also they get the damage reduction from Driven and Free Spirit by 40%, which is pretty substantial, all things considered, but it's, again, nothing really too crazy. So, I don't know, they really should have given this character way more than they did. A very, very underwhelming, bland super evolution. So I guess we're going to have to wait another month to see what they do. Yeah, so Bandai just loves screwing up these 6+. But that's going to wrap it up for me, though. Hopefully you enjoyed this one, and we'll have a video uploaded tomorrow at news time, going through the Sugo Fest in its entirety, and kind of, you know, understanding and judging whether or not it's ultimately worth pulling on. But hopefully you enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure to go ahead and leave a like, and if you want to stay up to date with all the content I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. And that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.